Damn, it really feels like an eternity since I've sat down here doing a video, but it's only been like a week or so. In my community tab, I've mentioned I got the virus, so the last few days I only lied down trying to recover or sit in this chair playing Elden Ring. Nothing else pretty much, but I think we're slowly feeling better, to the point where finally we can enjoy some Yu-Gi-Oh! Together again. I'm really excited for this, because today we're going to talk about Sky Striker, and this is something I wanted to do for a longer time. I think pretty much since the game launched. Sky Striker has always been, I wouldn't say one of my favorite archetypes, but it's an archetype that I really like. It's an archetype that is very intricate, very difficult to play. So if you're looking for a challenge, I think this deck is really, really suited for you. We will go over what the individual cards do, what the game plan is supposed to be, and how you are trying to win your games. So let's look at the deck together. The first thing you notice when you look at a Sky Striker deck is how there are so many spell cards in this deck, and almost no non-engine monsters. Only 2 of them. It used to be only 1, now we at least have 2. Why is this? The Sky Striker engine basically consists of a lot of spell cards that try to gain advantage through their effects and then outgrind the opponent in a long game. You know, maybe not as long as they used to be in the format where Sky Strikers were really dominant in 2019, but still, it can play the grind game. There are a lot of utility effects in those spell cards, and we'll go over them in a second. But one thing I want you to understand is that our game plan in general is to get advantage, control the game over like 2 to 3 turns, and then slowly poke our opponent to death, or sometimes even go for a crazy OTK if we have a lot of advantage or our hand is really good. Otherwise, we just stop them with our non-engine cards like hand traps or something like Cold by the Grave, all of those cards. Let's go over the Sky Striker cards, because I feel like it is best to understand the deck if we just go over those cards. The heart and soul of the deck is Sky Striker Mobilize, Engage with the monster, but for the spells, Engage is sort of the best card you always want to draw, where it says if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, which this is the requirement for every single Sky Striker spell that we play, you can add a Sky Striker card from your deck to your hand. Then, if you have 3 or more spells in your graveyard, you can draw 1 card. And this is something that also all of the Sky Striker cards have in common. Then, if you have 3 or more spells in your grave, do X thing. Not all of them draw 1 card, Engage draws 1 card, which makes it incredibly broken. But then, if you have 3 or more spells in the grave, do X thing. In order to be able to activate them, you can control no monsters in your main monster zone. Right? So, link monsters, that's your extra monster zone, and then everything else that's under that is your main monster zone. Notice how Engage says Sky Striker card, not only monster. So, you can also add your other spell cards with Sky Striker Engage. Let's just go over them chronologically. We have Afterburner. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, target a face-up monster on the field, destroy it, and then if you have 3 or more, destroy a spell trap on the field. Double destruction, very good. Jamming Wave says target 1 set spell trap on the field, destroy it, then destroy a monster on the field. Non-targeting, both non-targeting for the second effect, very important. Let's continue with Hornet Drones, because the other ones are a bit different. Special summon 1 token, a Sky Striker Ace token, which you can then link off for your link monsters. And then if you have 3 or more spells, it comes with attack points, defense points, but it doesn't really matter. Widow Anchor is the best Sky Striker spell except for Engage, where you can target a face-up effect monster on the field, negate its effects, but if you have 3 or more spells, you can also take control of that monster. Incredibly crazy effect. If you have 3 or more spells in your grave and you set this on your first turn, you can basically mind control your opponent's monster and even negating it. So very often this will act like a Cypher Gamma, where it will take away the opponent's monster as well, which is pretty crazy. And then Shark Cannon is a very nice tool that you can use both offensively and defensively, because both Widow Anchor and Shark Cannon are quick spells. You can target a monster in your opponent's grave, banish that monster, or if you have 3 or more spells, you can special summon it to your side of the field. So you can special summon link monsters and then link away with them, go for something like Access Code Talker, or you can revive a tuner, go for Needle Fiber summon out Veiler, and then go for Celine and Access Code Talker that way. We also have 2 other Sky Striker spells that work a bit differently. Let's look at them. Area 0, you can target 1 other card you control. So even if you control a monster in the main monster zone, which is the main use of this card even, excavate the 3 top cards of your deck, and if you do, add 1 excavated Sky Striker card to your hand. Shuffle your deck, and then if you added a card to your hand, you send the card that you targeted on the field to the grave. So a very typical scenario would be that you have a monster in your main monster zone that doesn't allow you to activate your Sky Striker spells, but then you activate Area 0, targeting the card in your main monster zone to get rid of it so you can activate your Sky Striker spells. So this card makes it so even if you have some weird scenarios where maybe sometimes your opponent will give you a kaiju, which is not too uncommon in Master Duel, you will be able to out it with this card. And if this card in the field zone is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, any card effect, doesn't matter which, you can special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your deck, and this will special summon Sky Striker Ace Ray, which we will get to in a second, but this is more or less the main monster and the heart and soul of the deck in general. The last Sky Striker spell is Multi-Roll. Once per turn, you can target one other card you control, send that card to the grave. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effect in response to your spell card's activations for the rest of the turn. This is broken. Notice how this only says spell cards and not Sky Striker spell cards. So you can even activate something like Twin Twister, Pot of Desires, stuff like that. So your opponent cannot even react to them. And imagine this in combination with a card like Afterburner that just destroys cards your opponent controls. So basically, on the resolution of multi-roll, they have to react with any sort of effect in order to stop the Afterburner from destroying stuff. But also notice how this once again gets rid of your cards in the main monster zone so you can activate your Sky Striker spells. Also, once per turn during the end phase, you can set Sky Striker spells with different names from your grave up to the number of Sky Striker spells you activated this turn while this card was face up on the field, but banish them when they leave the field. So this is sort of a recurring engine that can get you your Sky Striker spells back from the graveyard to the field. Alright, we've talked about all these spells. Let's go over the non-engine cards later, but let's talk about Sky Striker Ace Ray first, because this card is really the heart and soul of the deck, and I will now tell you why. So, you can tribute this card as a quick effect and special summon one Sky Striker Ace monster from your extra deck to the extra monster zone. This is the main effect this card has, right? So you can tag it out and bring a link monster on the field. This obviously is only as good as the link monsters you can summon with it, so we'll take a look at them in just a moment. While this card is in your grave, if a face-up Sky Striker Ace Link monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, so any sort of removal that they have, if they get rid of your Link monster, you can special summon this card. So what happens is that you will go for a Link monster with your Ray, then they will destroy your Link monster, you will summon out the Ray from your grave, and because it's a quick effect that can tag out into another Link monster, you can get the Link monster's effects on summon on your opponent's turn sometimes. Really, really amazing. Then the last Sky Striker card is Sky Striker Ace Rose. This is a very new addition in comparison, where this only got released I think 2 years ago, where it says if a Sky Striker Ace monster is normal or special summoned, you can special summon this card from your hand, alright? And if an opponent's monster in the extra monster zone is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of your card effect while this card is in your grave, you can special summon this card and then you can negate the effects of one face-up monster your opponent controls until the end of this turn, also non-targeting. Sometimes Rose can come in clutch, but the main thing why people are even playing Rose in the first place is because Sky Striker always had the issue of not being consistent enough, especially since Engage got limited or semi-limited in Master Duel, because you are quite reliant on seeing your Link monsters. If you see your Link monsters, most of the time you are in a very good spot, but if you don't, it can become difficult to play. And it is important that you are able to summon your Link monsters, and the Link monsters only require one Sky Striker Ace monster most of the time. So the Rose is a Sky Striker Ace monster that you can use for your Link monster, so it boosts your consistency, even though Ray is so much better because it can tag out. So if your opponent activates some sort of removal that targets the Ray on summon, you can just tag out and go for the Link monster, and then your Link monster is already protected because you have the Ray in the grave that will summon itself back out. With Rose, not that much, right? It's just pretty much a glass cannon normal summon, but getting the consistency up is just that important. Also, this has some neat plays here and there where we can also go for the Link 2 monster, because we can summon a Link monster and then activate the effect of Rose in the hand, special summon it and go for the Link monster. Alright, we've talked about all the main deck cards. Let's talk about the extra deck monsters, because these are the most important part. Sky Strikers play with only their Link monsters basically all the time, and your opponent's cards, because you can special summon them with Shark Cannon, take them with Widow Anchor, and then potentially go for something like Access Code. But other than that, you really only play with your Link monsters. So the first one being Kagari. So Kagari is limited to 1 in Master Duel, which is quite unfortunate. This card is very important to the strategy. If this card is special summoned, you can target one Sky Striker spell card in your grave, add it to your hand. And also this gains 100 attack for each spell in your grave. Pretty simple, right? The cool thing here is, if you read the Sky Striker spells, none of them are once per turn. No one knows why, even at the time of releasing the Sky Striker cards, they did it so they didn't have once per turn effects, because once per turns were a really common thing at the time. So they really wanted to make this archetype as broken as possible. I mean, Sky Striker was crazy when it first got released in the TCG. And basically what you do is you activate Engage. If you have 3 or more spells, you draw a card. You search when you draw a card, then you go for Kagari. Kagari will get your Engage back. You can activate Engage again. Then you will add a card, draw one card. If you're lucky, one of the cards you drew was another Engage, then you activate Engage, then you search a card, you draw a card. So as you can already see, sometimes one Engage can net you like 3 to 4 cards for no reason. And then you can get your Afterburner, your Widow Anchor, and sort of cripple apart your opponent's field one after another. The fact that Kagari is limited to 1 makes it a bit difficult for the deck. I feel like there is an argument to be made for playing Pot of Avarice. If you don't know what Pot of Avarice is, it's a very good card that was played in the past quite a lot. People don't like it as much nowadays, just because it's a card that doesn't really do anything when you go first most of the time. Target 5 monsters in your grave, shuffle all 5 into the deck, then draw 2 cards. So this would be a way to recur your Kagari, especially with the Sky Striker deck. You can get 5 monsters in the grave so easily. Why? Because every one of those link monsters can tag out for another link monster as well. So if I have a Kagari, Kagari can go into Shizuku, Shizuku can go into Ayate, and all the other way around. The only thing that restricts you is that you can only special summon each of them once per turn. And you cannot go from Shizuku to Shizuku or Kagari to Kagari, because they need a non-fire Sky Striker Ace monster, or in case of Shizuku, 1 non-water Sky Striker Ace monster. Talking about Shizuku, monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for each spell in your grave. It's a nice side effect, can come up actually a lot of times, where your opponent in real life Yu-Gi-Oh! Would forget that this like reduces the opponent's monster's attacks. But in Master Duel, of course, everything is tracked in real time, so it's not that much of an issue that people will misplay into attacking your monsters even though they have less attack. But in the TCG this comes up quite often. Also, once per turn during the end phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can add 1 Sky Striker spell from your deck to your hand with a different name from the cards in your grave. So often your first turn play will look something like normal summoning Ray, go for Shizuku, and then just add Engage in the end phase, maybe set a Widow Anchor or Shark Cannon before that, and then just have hand traps and let your opponent play and interrupt them that way. And then on the following turn, because you have spells in the grave now, because you use them to interrupt your opponent, you can then activate Engage and net incredible advantage and basically just win from there. Hayate is a nice utility monster in the extra deck. You can only special summon it once per turn as well. This card can attack directly, very important. Can, you know, poke some damage here and there. After damage calculation, if this card battles, you can send a Sky Striker card from your deck to the grave. So sometimes if you open something like Engage and you have to search Hornet Drones, or you have Hornet Drones in your starting hand, but you want your link monsters to be protected all the time, or you want to be able to sort of leave them on the field as much as possible, you want to send a Ray with your Hayate. So you attack, and then after damage calculation, you send the Ray. What you can also do is you can attack, if you want that, into an opponent's monster, and then before Hayate gets destroyed, you can send the Ray to the grave. Then the Hayate gets destroyed, and then you can special summon out the Ray that you just sent from the grave. So there are a lot of neat plays with this card. But you can also just very simply send any spell card that you want to have. So you have 3 spell cards, or you can send a spell card that you want to add with Kagari later on. So you go Hayate, and then you go for Kagari and add the send spell card to the hand. Kinda is sort of a new addition. If this card is special summoned, you can target a face monster your opponent controls. It cannot attack until the end of your opponent's turn, and then each time you activate a spell, you gain 100 life. So this card is funny because your opponent will attack into one of your link monsters. You will summon out Ray from the grave because it got destroyed by battle, and then as a quick effect you can tribute it and go for Kaina. And if they only have 2 monsters on the field, you can make it so their other monster cannot attack your Kaina, and your link monsters are more or less saved for your turn, right? They cannot destroy your link monster in this turn anymore. So that's why this card can sometimes come in handy, also because it's so free and it doesn't take you any resources to get this card out. You can just, in your turn, as a sidestep more or less, go for this card, so make it so your opponent's monster cannot attack until the end of their turn. So that's reasonably nice. And then the last Sky Striker monster, it's the newest edition I think, is Zeke. So Zeke is a Link 2 monster actually. It needs 2 monsters including a Sky Striker Ace monster. So you can take an opponent's monster with Widow Anchor and make it with your Ray and the opponent's monster. And then you can only special summon this once per turn. If this card is Link summoned, you can target a face-up monster on the field, banish it until your opponent's next end phase. Once per turn you can target one other card you control. This card gains 1000 attack and send the targeted card to the grave. Once again, so many utilities, it's even hard to put this in words. And I already can see that this deck profile is one of the longer ones. Honestly, just talking about the Sky Striker strategy, you can take so many approaches with these effects. So you can target one face-up monster on the field, banish it until your opponent's next end phase. I've seen people play this with Mystic Mine in the TCG. It's not relevant for Master Duel, but where you can just banish the Zeke itself, and then you won't have monsters on your field. You can also obviously just banish your opponent's monster to push for damage. You can, I don't know, like banish an opponent's monster, then get the monster to the grave. The other effect, where once per turn you can target one of the cards you control, send it to the grave. This obviously gets rid of monsters in your main monster zone. This makes this card so it has more attack. It makes it so you can trigger your area 0. If it's sent by card effect, you can special summon a Ray from the deck, push for damage. There's a lot of ways to abuse this card really nicely. Of course, you can also take a monster with Widow Anchor and then get rid of it with Zeke. Then we also play Needle Fiber, Selene, Access Code. So the way this works is if you have a Sky Striker monster on the field, you maybe normal summon Veiler, Ash Blossom, something like this. Then, or even take an opponent's tuner. Then you go for Needle Fiber. Needle Fiber summons out Veiler because we already have 3 spells in the grave all the time. We make Selene, and then Selene will summon back out the Veiler, and Veiler can go for Access Code. So this is a really nice OTK button. We play Nightmare Phoenix and Unicorn just for utility. Maybe sometimes you need it, probably not too often though. And then Avermax is, you know, it's this could be Ningirsu as well. Ningirsu is a very commonly played card in Sky Striker, because Sky Striker has a hard time outing cards like Dragoon that cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, which luckily it's not in the game here, but there are still cards like this running around. And Ningirsu is a card that gets rid of those because it just sends cards from each player's side of the field. But Avermax is also a nice out to some cards. And with Widow Anchor, sometimes this is a nice option to go into. We haven't even touched the non-engine in the main deck really that much. There's not really too much to talk about. 3 Upstart because it's a spell. It's a free spell that gets the spells in the grave, so we can trigger our effects. 3 Desires because Sky Strikers don't really care about the banish cards too much, especially with Engage at 2. In the TCG this is at 1, so with 2 we can afford to play Desires. And then Rota searches Ray, Terraforming searches Era 0. There are also spells in the grave, which makes it super good. And then Cold by the Grave is just a generically really good card. Enough talk. I think you've sort of gotten an idea of what this deck is supposed to do. I think we've already talked about it for like 20 minutes or something. So let's go into some replays. Maybe let's take it a bit slower today still. I am feeling my throat a bit. Alright, maybe let's do 1 or 2 games, see how the deck performs, see how the deck works, just so you can get an idea how this works in practice. And hopefully, you'll get away, be feeling motivated from this video playing this deck yourself. Alright, let's go. Alright, one of the things I forgot to mention is that Sky Striker is generally a deck that wants to go second. Can go second. It depends on your build and how you want to play it. Even with the build that we have, you can either go second or first. It doesn't really matter, and it's one of the big advantages over other decks in the format, I feel like. Where it's the best going second deck with Dino that is out there. Oh my god, we play the mirror match. This is crazy. The mirror match is really crazy. And they opened Rotor. We also opened Rotor. So probably we're gonna go Max C right now. Actually, let me finish my thought. So the deck can go first, can go second, just depending on how you want to build the deck, how you want to go about it. I feel like with our version, we want to go second almost, right? If you play against a crazy combo deck, of course it can happen that you will just not draw a hand trap and your opponent will just FTK you basically with their combo. But in general, our deck is very, very good at going second, and that's why we want to abuse it. Think about a card like Hayate that just gets a card in the graveyard when it attacks, right? And that's something that we want to abuse as much as possible. It's easier to get spells in the grave it's easier to get spells in the grave when we go second. Now, we did a mistake here that I just realized. We activated the Maxi on the Ray summon. I think it's a classic mistake even. The thing is, I have never played Sky Striker mirror matches in the OCG before. So, this one will definitely Ash. I've never played the Sky Striker mirror matches in the OCG before, so this is not something that I'm used to playing Maxi in the Sky Striker mirror match. Maybe something I will have to get used to. Alright, draw phase. Let's draw Shark Cannon. Alright, I think we want to start with Rota so we don't draw the Ray of the Upstart Goblin. Yes. Probably they're probably suspicious that we also play Sky Striker. Now, the mirror match, for first replay, this is really interesting. The mirror match is crazy with Sky Striker for many reasons. Alright, they go for draw that doesn't really care that doesn't really matter for us. That doesn't really care. Well, it's interesting for many reasons. So one of the things is that Shark Cannon can special summon the opponent's monsters out of the grave. So you can special summon an opponent's Ray and go for your own Link monsters. You can also Widow Anchor, steal their monsters, go for your own Link monsters, which is the most effective way to get rid of theirs. Because it doesn't make it so, their Link monsters trigger, or their Ray rather, triggers in the grave when their Link monsters get removed. Actually, the roll did hurt us a bit, right? Because we have Desires and Upside Goblin. We can't even activate those. And we can't activate Shizuku in the end phase either. Alright, is this a play? We go for Ray, we summon out Hayate. We attack with Hayate, we dump something, we activate Ray in the grave. We special summon Ray, we use its effect, go for Kagari, add the send card to the hand, activate Shark Cannon, get their Ray out of the grave, attack theirs. I think this is the play I want to go for. I don't know if this is correct or not. I have no idea, but it is the best play I think I've just come up with. Or I can come up with. Alright, we normal summon Ray. We have to take into consideration that our monsters also get reduced, so... but I think it's fine. Alright, we don't want to use the effect of Ray. We just simply want to go into our Hayate. Then, we go for this, yes. Now notice how now we're not going to... I'll just give you a second run on my thought process here. I think what we want to do is we want to crash into the Shizuku for the reason that we want to summon out the Ray. So we can even crash into their monster, summon out our own Ray, and then use the effect of our Ray in the battle phase, tag out, go for Kagari, and then because Kagari can run over their Shizuku, we can clear their Link monster. The only problem is we run into Shark Cannon that way, right? If we... Yeah, we definitely run into Shark Cannon that way. No. So if they activate Shark Cannon on the declaration, that's pretty... It's annoying, but it's not the end of the world, because we can just send another Ray with Hayate. So this was actually a very safe play, I feel like. Alright, with Hayate, we actually want to search Widow Anchor, I feel like. The reason being that we're under draw, and this is the only card that... Yeah, it's the only card that really helps us here. We go for Ray, we summon Ray in attack mode. Even though that doesn't matter at all. We go for... No, that was a misclick. Alright, but we can still... Yeah. Alright, it still works. That was a misclick. My god. Yes, we want to activate Ray. Exactly. We go for Kagari. See, we even mind gamed our opponent into making them think that we want to attack their Shizuku, but we didn't in the end. So we go Kagari. Yes, activate the effect. We add back the Widow Anchor. So our Kagari is now at 15. At the moment it gets... Alright, important that this is an impermanent and not a Widow Anchor, because the Widow Anchor would have made it so our Kagari would lose another 100 attack, while the impermanence makes it so we stay at... Oh no, we stay... because it negates the Kagari, so it makes it so we at 15. Right. That's weird. That is really weird now. But it is something, I guess we... Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Do we still want to clear their monster? I feel like, right? They only have two cards in their hand. How high is the chance that they have another access to Ray or some sort of Link monster? Yes, that's fine. Alright. This resolves. We go to 14. Oh, we can't even... Yeah, of course. We can't even crash into their monster. Alright, so what is something that we can do here? We have 2 spells in the grave. Yeah, this is difficult. This is weird. Yeah, we go for main phase 2. The draw really hurts us, I feel like. And we can't even search with Shizuku, so our follow-up play is not really that great. I feel like we have to set the Shark Cannon. Go for Nothing actually, right? Nothing. Yeah, we just go to the end phase. There's no point in going for Shizuku. Because obviously Shizuku will not be able to activate it, just waste resources. So we kind of forced to stay on Kagari. It's weird how the Duel actually hurt us so much. Usually with Sky Strikers these days, Duel is not really that good anymore. For the simple reason that there are so many tools in the Sky Striker engine that work around that card. But I feel like with 3 Upside and Desires as well in deck, maybe in Master Duel, it might actually be so that yeah, that it's way better than I expected. Alright. They go for Hayate, of course. Yeah, they will probably get Engage in the Grave from what I would assume. Get Engage in the Grave. And then, I mean, they will probably try to... Maybe they could also go for Widow Anchor. Go for sort of an aggressive play, more or less. And then in the end phase with Shizuku, search the Engage. Which they can obviously only search, once again, if they don't have the Engage already in the grave. So... in the mirror match especially, or in slower matchups in general, you want to add your most impactful cards in the end phase if you know you can survive the following turn. Alright, they go for Engage. So this shows that they want to go for an aggressive play. They really want to draw cards right now. But I'm not sure how they want to get rid of our Kagari, because we also have Ray in the grave. Maybe they already have Widow Anchor in the hands. I mean, that would be an explanation. Because they could take our monster, go for Seek that way, and just clear our monster. Alright, they go for Kagari. They're fancy in summoning it in the main monster zone. Doesn't really matter, of course, because they can just summon another Link monster up here. Alright, they target Engage. That makes sense. They'll go for Engage. Probably now... But it really makes me wonder, because the fact that they summoned the Kagari down in the main monster zone, it means that... Yeah, it just means that they probably now gonna go for something like Shizuku. Or Kaina, maybe? No, they go for Shizuku. So they're not gonna take our Kagari. And they're not gonna take our Kagari and go for a Link monster, because they really want to use the Shizuku effect, of course. That wouldn't make any sense their play if they would take our Kagari now. So what do they want to do? I'm a bit confused. Oh, Avarice. Right, they play Avarice. That makes sense. Oh yeah, we only have one Kagari. I keep forgetting we only have one Kagari, right, in this game. So, alright. We're obviously gonna go with Shark Cannon. On the, probably the Kagari. But we could also go for Ray. I think, wait, shuffle all 5 into the deck. So if we banish 1, none of them get shuffled. So I'll go for Ray. And actually, this is a really plus play for us. 100%. Yeah, this is really good for us. Wow, that was a great trade. We got rid of their Ray, plus we got rid of their draw 2, and they weren't able to recycle the Kagari. This was a great turnaround for us. I mean, this could... Yeah, this could lead into a lot. We have 3 spells in the grave, so... Next turn, we can go for stuff, I feel like. But with one Kagari, once again, it becomes quite difficult. Maybe Avarice is very... well, important enough for the deck. They go for Afterburner? I don't understand that move, because now we just go for Ray, and we can summon out Shizuku in the end phase, and then search our Engage. I'm a bit confused as to what they're doing. I mean, now they have 3 spells in the grave, I suppose. Yes, that makes sense. We're gonna keep the Ray on the field. We don't want to run into a Widow Anchor that they might search here. So if they search Widow Anchor, we would activate Ray on Engage. Then our Shizuku is obviously prone to the Widow Anchor. Whereas if we use Ray in the end phase, they would probably, they're most likely to set their Widow Anchor before they go into the end phase. So then in the end phase, because they set it in the same turn, our Shizuku would be protected. Alright, they're thinking. Makes sense. I mean, you have a lot of options with Engage all the time. Like, you can search everything from your entire archetype, so being able to do that and then draw a card as well, which you also have to take into consideration if you activate the Engage, is of course very important. They activated Widow Anchor. I'm not sure why, because we can obviously just chain the Ray. We will do that. Do they have Cold Weather Grave? No, they don't. Alright, we will summon out the Shizuku. I'm confused, man. They wasted a lot of resources. But maybe they have a plan behind it. I feel like right now we are on the... Like, we're on the better side of things. It's looking pretty good for us, honestly. Oh, they have another Widow Anchor. Yeah, that makes sense. But still, I feel like this was very wasteful. What I would have done if I were them, I would have probably set one of the Widow Anchors, kept one of the Widow Anchors in my hands. But then, I understand what they want to go for. They want to get rid of our monsters for good. So they go for Zeke, but... Yeah, no, this entire play didn't make any sense. Do they not play Kaina? Because they went for Shizuku early, and now they can't go into Shizuku anymore, so they cannot search in the end phase. They should have gone for Kaina first and then do this entire play. They activate Shark Cannon on Ray. Alright. To banish it. Yeah, but now they don't have any cards left. They don't have Ray engraved. So if you draw any playable card, I feel like... Yeah, I feel like they messed this up bad. But this also goes to show, like, see how... Like, they have no cards anymore. Because I feel like they just went so wastefully with everything they had. And they get punished because we draw Ray. So that's obviously the best draw of our deck by far. Alright, let's start with Upstart. And now we have everything, of course. And we can just... We even have Rose. Wow. Alright. We can go for Desire straight, I feel like. I mean, maybe we could... Let's think about it. Maybe we could also be a bit more restrictive with it and just go for safe engage search in the end phase. Because if we banish both, it sucks a bit. Maybe we can still control this game. They don't even have Ray, that's the crazy part. So we can honestly just get rid of this. I could go something as simple as... I could go for something as simple as summoning Rose. Even, I feel like summoning Rose, just go for Shizuku, honestly. But then we don't have any interruption. Maybe that's not the best. Having a multi-roll would also be very good. See, there are a lot of options we could go. We could go Shizuku in the end phase search multi-roll. We could normal summon the... Ray, yeah, go for Shizuku and do all of those plays. I mean, we cut them off the Link monster anyway, so it doesn't really matter what we do, probably. I mean, we're in a very good position. We want to activate the desires here, though, I feel like. Yeah, because we want to potentially see a Widow Anchor, even see an engage with the desires, right? Right, we're lagging quite a bit, I feel like. Alright. What do we draw? Area 0, Maxi, that's fine. That's fine. We banish all multi-rolls and the last Ray, but no engage. So, yeah, I mean, this is totally fine. So here's also a nice interaction. Now the play is very obvious. We go for Area 0, we can normal summon the Ray, and then a nice interaction here is that the card on the field for Area 0 doesn't have to be on the field anymore at resolution, so you can target your own Ray, and then chain your Ray effect on the field to summon a monster out of the extra deck, and basically get an excavated card for free. So that's what we're gonna do. Very, very straightforward, honestly. We can even go for another neat play here, I feel like. We just go for Hayate once again. We crash into there, summoning back our Ray, and then attacking directly so we can get a free damage, basically. And they scoop, yeah. It was just too much advantage at this point, but I feel like it was a nice match to show off the deck. Yeah, really nice. I mean, mirror match is always nice, especially when it goes to show how incredibly important your resource management can be. I feel like our opponent definitely had the win in their hands, but they completely threw it. So, yeah, really goes to show how much of a skill-intense deck Sky Striker is. And we didn't even play it that well, I feel like. There was probably a lot of plays that we could have done better, but just that our opponent messed it up here and there a bit. Was a bit of a shorter video, only one replay today. I hope it's fine. Not feeling totally recovered with my voice and everything yet. Feeling a bit tired now. I think I will go to sleep after this video. But... hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you hopefully very, very soon with the next video. I don't know if I'm back with the 3-day cycle quite yet. Probably just depends on how recovered I feel in the next coming days. And other than that, I hope you guys loved the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.